Hey guys, this is take two of the video because I just recorded the whole thing and realized that my mic was muted. So let's try this again. Today we're going to be going over SOL 7B, which is the details of federalism, and we're going to get right into it. I believe last video I already defined federalism, but let's do it again, right? So federalism is the division of power between the state government and the national government. Okay, and this is outlined in the 10th Amendment. You're going to have to know that. Okay, in the 10th Amendment, it states any powers that are not explicitly given to the federal government in the Constitution are reserved to the states. Meaning, if it does not say in the Constitution this power goes to the federal government, it is assumed that that power is then reserved for the states or is given to the states. For example, education. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the federal government is responsible for education. Therefore, due to the 10th Amendment, we assume that education is a power that goes to the states, right? Because it wasn't specifically listed. So that's what federalism is. That's where it is defined. That's where it comes from, the 10th Amendment. Okay. We also have to understand this idea of the supremacy clause. Okay. And the supremacy clause is really simple. It does exactly what you would think it does, right? In the event that the federal government and the state government do not mesh, right? Like there's a power struggle between the two. There's a conflict between the two. The supremacy clause states that the federal government is supreme. The national government is supreme. Okay? So if there's ever conflict between the two, we know the national government is the more powerful one. Okay? Next, we have this idea of concurrent powers. Now, we've already done express powers and implied powers. Okay? You got to remember that from SOL 6C. Now we're joining these ideas of concurrent powers and denied powers. So concurrent powers, right? Con meaning with, current meaning current, present, right? In other words, at the same time. Okay? Concurrent powers are powers that the federal government and the state government share. Powers that the federal government and the state government have at the same time. Okay? Examples of that would be taxation, right? I pay federal tax, I pay state tax. Another example would be the judicial systems, right? You have federal courts and you have state courts, right? So both levels of government have these powers. Okay, those are called concurrent powers. Denied powers are powers that are specifically taken away. All right, that you really won't see much of. You can, but you probably won't. But denied powers are powers that are taken away from either federal government or state government. Okay, so we've defined federalism as well as showed where it was. We've defined the supremacy clause. We've defined concurrent and denied powers. And now the last thing we have to do is understand what powers each level of government is really responsible for. So, first we have the national government. The three examples that I want you to know of that they are responsible for. First, let's start with foreign policy, right? So the federal government is responsible for dictating how we interact with other countries, which makes logical sense, right? The states wouldn't do that. You wouldn't have Texas get into an agreement with Canada on behalf of just Texas and not the rest of the United States. It doesn't make sense, right? You would think that the United States as a country would come to agreements and come to deals with different countries, and that's exactly how it works, right? So the federal government is responsible for foreign policy. Second, the federal government is responsible for regulating commerce, okay, which you know that from SOL 6A, right? It is the job of Congress to regulate commerce, which pretty much means to regulate money and trade, okay? Third is to provide for the common defense. Again, you know what that means from our preamble. So that's it for national. Now going on to the state. The state is really simple. The main goals of the state are to promote public health, safety, welfare, and education. Promote public health, safety, so you're talking about like your police officers, your firefighters, etc. Health, safety, welfare, make sure that the people are taken care of, right? And then education, schools. And that's it. That's SOL 7B.